How easy is it to steal a nuclear bomb? Welcome back to the Stuff You Should Think About, the podcast where we take everyday questions, strange facts, and fascinating topics, and we break them down in just a couple of minutes. So, today's question is, how easy is it to steal a nuclear bomb? Yeah, I know you're probably kind of wondering. You may be thinking about it, trying to plan it out. So here it is. It's kind of a question that sounds like it belongs in an action movie. A group of criminals breaks into a military base. They grab a weapon, load it onto a truck, and they disappear before anybody notices. Hollywood has made it look surprisingly simple. The reality is pretty different. Short answer is stealing a nuclear bomb is probably one of the most difficult crimes anyone could probably attempt. So it's probably not a good idea. But let's talk about why. We'll start with where they're kept. Usually countries that possess nuclear weapons, they don't really leave them sitting out in warehouses, just so you can break a window and grab one. They're usually stored in really heavily protected facilities on these places. And let's be honest, it's a nuclear bomb. So where it's at, it's going to be almost impossible to get to. And they're usually guarded by multiple layers of security, surveillance, the armed personnel, procedures, and usually it's around the clock. So even getting close to one without authorization would be almost impossible. Then there's the people. Everyone with access to a nuclear weapon goes through extensive background checks, ongoing monitoring, and strict security clearances. Access isn't just given to one person. Multiple authorized individuals are usually involved in critical steps, reducing the chance that a single insider could act alone. But suppose, just for the sake of discussion, someone somehow managed to get their hands on a nuclear bomb. Would that mean they could use it? Not necessarily. Modern nuclear weapons are designed with multiple layers of safeguards intended to prevent unauthorized use. These include specialized security systems and procedures that make it extremely difficult for anyone without proper authorization to arm or activate the weapon. The exact details of those systems aren't made public for obvious reasons, but their purpose is simple: prevent theft from becoming a catastrophe. Another thing many people don't realize is that nuclear weapons require constant maintenance. They're incredibly complex machines containing components that must be regularly inspected and serviced. They're not like ordinary explosives that can simply sit untouched for decades. That means even possessing one wouldn't necessarily make it usable. What about so-called loose nukes? After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, many people worried that nuclear weapons or nuclear materials might disappear during the political and economic chaos. Those concerns led to major international efforts to improve security, account for nuclear materials, and reduce the risk of theft. Since then, countries have invested heavily in protecting nuclear stockpiles and tracking weapon-grade materials. That doesn't mean the risk is zero. Security experts remain concerned about the theft of radioactive materials that could potentially be used in a dirty bomb. Unlike a nuclear bomb, a dirty bomb uses conventional explosives to spread radioactive contamination. While it could cause fear, disruption, and contamination, it would not produce the massive nuclear explosion people associate with atomic weapons. The two are often confused, but they're very different. One interesting fact is that every known nuclear weapon is carefully accounted for by the nation that possesses it. Governments maintain detailed inventories and security measures designed to detect unauthorized access quickly. Could someone make a nuclear bomb from scratch? That's an entirely different question and far more complicated than movies often suggest. It requires specialized materials, advanced specific knowledge, and industrial capabilities that are well beyond the reach of ordinary individuals. Perhaps the biggest reason this topic fascinates people is because nuclear weapons represent the most destructive technology ever created. The idea that one person could simply disappear makes for an exciting movie plot. But in reality, governments around the world devote enormous resources to making sure that never happens. So, how easy is it to steal a nuclear bomb? The evidence suggests it's extraordinarily difficult. While no security system can ever be considered perfect, nuclear weapons are among the most heavily protected objects on the planet. Sometimes the biggest myths come from the biggest movies, and that's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for listening to the Stuff You Should Think About. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and join us next time as we answer another question you probably never thought to ask, but definitely should.